how two very different attorneys with two very different practice areas can come together to build their own empire with the power of a shared vision. Today on the Pollinator Podcast.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for being on. And I think it's so funny how this all comes first full circle because, Kristen, you and I haven't actually really met before. And we get introduced through a mutual connection via email. And then as soon as I see your name, I'm like, this name is familiar. I've seen this name. And I was like, Will. I was like, do you know Kristen? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. And so that's when I responded. I was like, oh my God, I know we've never met, but you know Will. And we, and so it's just so funny how like the two of you knew each other decades ago. Yeah. Oh, not a decade. A little over a decade.
It's been like 2015, yeah.
Yeah, it's been it has
right at a decade.
You say it so like, Jesus Christ.
Not decade, it's just one decade.
Just one decade. And how it all just kind of comes full circle. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you guys are, what you do, and then we'll kind of dive into a little bit of history and kind of where you were at and where you are now.
Sure. So I'll start because that's kind of normally how we go about things, right, honey? But I'm Kristen Reynoso Jackwin. This is my amazing husband.
Jackwin.
I'm a criminal defense attorney. And then we also have another company called Connect Esquire, which is a mastermind organization for attorneys by attorneys. So helping attorneys run the business side of a law firm, which unfortunately we don't learn in law school. So it's been a fun journey. And we started, I joined the firm. So I almost called it his firm, but still getting used to it being our firm, right? I joined the firm in 2023, and he had already established it back in 2016? Yeah, I can never remember that for some reason. And brought criminal defense to our practice and victims' rights as well. And I also handle restraining orders too. And then about, I think like a month or two later, we also launched Connect Esquire. So we're very much just like, I say you are not. Just do it all at once. Go big or go home. Why not? Love of my own for law firm and start a brand new company all at the same time. So it's been a lot of fun. And there's no one else I'd want to do it than you.
Thank you. I'm Eric Jackwin. I started the firm in 2016, originally just real estate planning, and business transactional. But I had, at one point in a past career, I did litigation, and I didn't really fall in love with that particular area of law. But I did enjoy the transactional side of the practice, where it's putting together meaningful documents for people, and that really just that solves a problem rather than being litigious over that contract. So we've had a lot of pitfalls with a lot of things that people were using, and contracts just go south, and that's just how deals happen. And I just enjoyed being a deal maker as opposed to tearing apart a deal. And having a criminal defense, so a lot of people are like, well, there's rarely an overlap between the transactional practice group and criminal defense, and we find ourselves working together a lot more often than not. We work together on strategy. We refer each other, our clients, well, mostly on your side more than on mine. But just helping people.
How does it overlap? Like the getting in strategy or working together? Because like, Eric, I would think like if I came to you for business and you set me up with a contract, I hope you don't have to refer me to your criminal defense wife afterwards, right? Like it seems like some kind of disconnect there.
Yeah, so it's not like, Eric is trying to have his clients commit crimes to then, send me business. That's not how we work.
Not the case.
But you know what? It's two totally different practice areas, and I honestly forget sometimes that we do the transactional side because we really keep it separate, where he's the transactional brain and I am the litigation brain. But it does balance each other well. And I think that it's so different because we are so different. Eric and I are two totally different people. He is the behind the scenes guy until you bring him on a podcast like this.
Yeah.
And, the numbers guy, the analytical brain. If I look at a spreadsheet, I want to cry. I hit our map. I can't figure that out either.
You became a lawyer for a particular reason, right?
And then I'm more of the big picture person. I don't care about the details. Just give me, give me the Spark Notes version of it. I'm more of the people person, and I enjoy networking. Obviously, as you know, since we met through BNI many years ago. So we bring both of those aspects, and we work together to balance each other really well, as opposed to forcing the other person to do what they hate. Like half the time, I don't even know what our numbers are. I just focus on bringing the money in, right? The sales side, something I need to work on, because, and I've said we need to have meetings on that, but I do just question them. What are the numbers all the time?
I'm laughing because we literally had like a similar conversation because a lot of times I'm the one handling the finances. And so he, every once in a while will look, but not as much as I do. And so we had that similar meeting of like, we need to have like a weekly meeting. And we literally just created an agenda of like, okay, for me, 2 hours. And this is, how much time we're going to spend on each topic and make sure we hit all. So,
well, I'm definitely the Will, and you're definitely the Eric, for sure. And I think that's what makes it fun to work together. But in terms of like the actual, I kind of danced around your question. I just realized that I like talking.
That's how it goes.
But in terms of the different types of practice areas that we have, and they're a little bit different, we have actually worked on some cases together. We had a realtor who had forgotten to give the cut to his broker. And so obviously there's criminal issues, there's real estate issues. So we worked that together. And then he also wanted to make sure that everything he was doing was on the up and up. So Eric helped him on the business side. So, and then actually recently we had a case that we just won together. It was a homestead exemption case where a woman was being accused of homestead fraud. And then she also wanted to appeal a decision before the Value Adjustment Board. So we had a hearing together, and it was just us at our best. Eric with knowing all of the law and the analytical side, and he knew every single point to hit. And me with really conveying the story and making sure to really hit down important arguments, more of the big picture type arguments, and we did ultimately win. So it's nice to be able to work with him. And some of our bigger cases that require a lot of legal research and that analytical side, he will handle the research for that. And he actually one time found, I had a case where I represented a 13-year-old who was accused of murder, and he found a case from the 1970s to help us get him out of the adult facility to get him back into the juvenile facility. We'll work together with, even if it is a solely criminal case, then I use his amazing analytical brain to help find things, because the research, my eyes just kind of glaze over. Give me the research and I'll go and argue it, but I don't want to be the one behind the computer, actually finding the research.
And it's funny, actually, I forget sometimes that I was a criminal justice major in college. So things that she works on and, some of the police things, law enforcement issues, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. So it's more fascinating as far as, filling out a contract or looking at the four corners of a document. So a lot more intricacies with her types of cases, which are fun to work on together, especially if it's a unique topic or something that's really challenging from an intellectual standpoint. I love that stuff. So happy to be able to help her with any arguments or any strategy in the cases that we're involved in together. So
yeah, I think a lot of the strategy that we do is more so on how we can make the business better, how we can be more efficient, how we can cut costs. And so, and a lot of times the thought will pop into my mind at 11 o'clock, honey, something else I've got to work on, and he's sleeping. And And my brain's going, I've got to get it out. And one time he gets up every day at like 4:50 in the morning, and I was up and I was wired. And so we had an employee and we needed to get her in.
She wanted to talk business at 4:45 in the morning. And I looked at her and I said, I have not had my cup of coffee yet. We are not having this conversation. This is my Zen time. This is my time where I'm about to go to work out for like 2 hours. So this is my time, me time, not talking about business time. Like,
You are not allowed to be awake at this hour ever again.
I know we're both up around like 5:40ish. And then, but yeah, I understand that sometimes things will happen at night. I try to like just have like a notebook or something where I can just scribble it down so that like I don't forget it, but then I can also like put it aside and like actually go to sleep. So I'm not like mulling over it for like hours. Yeah.
Yep.
Me, I'm just gonna like leave that browser tab open, and that'll be the first thing I see when I sit down. We know, mutually other couples who maybe join their practices together, and it was a little bit more similar, maybe like family law and probate or something like that. So a little bit closer. What was the conversation like for y'all when you're thinking about like, let's just be under one firm rather than both kind of operating our separate firms, even if maybe they were under the same roof?
Well, there wasn't really a conversation. I kind of just told him that I'm coming and I made up my mind and let's do it. So I had worked with my dad previously for 8 years. And then I made the decision. It was a very abrupt decision that it was time for dad to just be dad. And, our visions were going different ways. So when all of that happened, I was just like, okay, this is what I'm doing. He had wanted me for a while to join the firm, originally to do real estate. And I'm like, I have no desire to do real estate ever. I can sell, I can schmooze with the realtors, and I did that anyway. But I'm not going to be the person doing the contract. I actually did it one time, and I forgot to get I forgot to get a bunch of rise, which is the easiest process. And I'm like, look, I can argue, at an art robbery hearing, but I forgot to get documents, so I'm not allowed to touch any closing with a 10-foot pole. But
Yep.
But yeah, so real estate is clearly not my forte. But yeah, it was just very abrupt. It was like, this is what's happening. He was golfing. He's like, you went out to breakfast. I'm golfing for an hour, and and it's like, what is going on? And that was that. And we just kind of figured it out along the way. There was not a whole planning process or anything. And thankfully,
we share a vision with our business and
yeah,
just together as like, wanting to build our own empire together.
Yeah.
So that made it easy.
It was easy.
As far as, we didn't particularly have a business plan set out for, criminal defense specifically.
Yeah.
But
I've never done a business.
We're still working. We're still working through all of that. But it's been fun.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't. I guess I feel like if we had planned it a little bit more, I think we would have found things that maybe would have worked out. Yeah. And then I would have probably been a little bit more hesitant.
Well, actually, I had we were part of How to Manage a Small Law Firm, and the advisor I was working with was like, told me, you need to do your own thing separate from your husband. And it was a lot. It was a very emotional process because leaving my dad was a very hard decision to make. But and then just feeling kind of lost. But then I also know that I could not run a law firm on my own because of the reasons I just said. I should not be handling admin or payroll, or I would definitely mess it up.
It is definitely the realities and like the practicalities of running a business, because at the end of the day, this is a business. And, we often forget as attorneys that we're running a business. And, we were reminded really this year that when we signed up for our business, we signed up for a profit business, for profit.
Right.
So
right.
One of those things where you kind of like always talk about your business, but nobody ever really talks about making money for the business. And that kind of like that one really just like, wow, that's just like really hit us in the face, like a train, because it's just such a reality and so truthful that, look, we have to be honest with ourselves. We did sign up for it to, be a for-profit business. We do have to make money. So, the practicalities and the realities of operating two separate law firms, two separate trust accounts, two separate, operating accounts, just the complexities of things.
I'm getting
Just
overwhelmed just hearing it.
Yeah, the realities again, that it's the corporate formalities. I'm dealing with issues right now where people use ChatGPT to create operating agreements and purchase and sale agreements, and it's just created more of a disaster. What would cost $3,500 to create just the right documents and the proper chains of title for things is now going to cost this client about $35,000 probably just to litigate it. So, just it's those realities that we live in this world. So, you're more of a simplification. You like to simplify things. And I think that was also kind of like one of those other things that we were just like, we don't want, another QuickBooks, another, like, I already deal with that with the title company, separate and apart, it is, run kind of like through the law firm, like the law firm is very involved. But, it is a completely separate entity. It's got its own bank accounts, its own operating agreements. So I already know from dealing with the financials on that and the accounting, I didn't need now a third one because we do have a third one with Connect Esquire, but, it's everything's more streamlined now that way because, one's more consulting. One is a title company, that's all it can do. And then the other one is a law firm. So it just kind of like really separates everything. I think that the complexities would have been just way too much. And then,
Well, I couldn't let him
maps. Ask her about maps.
tell you this is not that moment, but I can't let him ponder something too long. He actually had the idea for Connect Esquire in 2012, and I was the one that was like, "It's time. You need to do it." So I'm like, let's go get the goal. Let's go get it yesterday and just move at a very fast pace. He's more of a slow and steady wins the race. So we balance each other well. And I think that had we sat back and thought of every little detail that needed to be done and mapped that out first, he would have, it just would have been too much. And it would have taken years and years for us to ultimately do what we just did in like a few weeks. I mean, it was done. And thankfully, we already had an established office. You already had a team of people. And thankfully, because of all of the networking and the connections that I had made from the past near decade, I had cases flowing in immediately. So it's not like I had to worry about, oh, well, might be bringing any money. Of course, my personality, I wanted to bring in a lot of business right away. But I spoke to someone else and that we used to consult with, and they said, let's say that you don't bring any cases in for the first 6 months. Are you going to starve? We don't have kids. Are your cat's going to starve? Is your husband going to starve? No. Even if I were to not bring in any money, then we would be fine financially. Maybe not going out to fancy dinners, but we would be fine. So that kind of took the pressure off myself that and I'm sure you do the same thing, Shannon. We as women just had to put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So that really helped me to realize, okay, you know what? If I bring cases in, it's just gravy because he's going to obviously have work to do, and you're going to be bringing in money. So anything I bring in is just gravy. And that was kind of how we started out.
And then from there, though, the next problem was space, because unfortunately the office that we had currently been in was just too small. So that was the next challenge, was then, space. To have a dedicated office space for her.
Now we have too much space.
She was like floating around everywhere, and it was like,
you stick her in a cubicle?
I would just walk around with my laptop and just go wherever people were. I'd be in the conference room. Then I'd get kicked out of the conference room. Then I would go to the random desk, and his paralegal and his associate shared an office, and there's a random desk in the corner. Then I'd sit there. As you can imagine, it's frustrating. So I just worked from home a lot. And so I wasn't always floating around.
And then we found everything worked out, as it should have been. We found the perfect place. This is actually our podcast studio. So, we're excited to actually be using it. Because we don't use it to its full potential.
We built it out a year ago. This is the first time we've done anything together in it.
Yeah, this is our first podcast together.
Yeah, we built it out and then we never started a podcast. So.
Yeah.
Kudos to you guys for actually doing it.
I love that we get to be your first podcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
I've been on a bunch, but his personality, it's getting him to do anything. It's like I gotta reel him in. Once he's here, clearly he's wonderful.
You're doing great. You're doing.
Yeah.
It's like pulling teeth to get him around people.
So now you mentioned kind of just a very quick decision, like, okay, this is happening. We're joining forces. We're becoming one firm. And I heard you kind of briefly mention like, oh, I don't really do business plans. So how, I heard that. I heard it. We did a 7-hour road trip and did our business plan during a 7-hour drive. So I understand not liking to do business plans. But I guess my question more is, you both kind of did your own things for a while coming together. What is that decision-making process like? How do you make those big decisions when it comes to the direction of the firm or, cases that you're working on together? How do y'all handle that? And especially if maybe there is a different vision that you each have.
Yeah, definitely not before 5 a.m. for sure.
I think we really do whatever I want, and he just agrees. Yeah.
No, we do.
Kidding, but a little serious. Look at Will's face.
Going back.
What is that like?
I'm joking. Honestly,
sharing the vision, I think, really helps us to shape everything. It's like our North Star for us. So, we read so many books together.
Yeah.
We really strategize on those books. And then, 10X is easier than 2X was, those life-changing books for us. We did that together. And, Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. We read that really together. And so
I listened
E-Myth Attorney. I read E-Myth many years ago, and then we reread E-Myth Attorney, and we strategize off of that. So now we have the business plan, the practice plan, and the completion plan. So we have are always working towards, growing, together personally and professionally. So if we can ever pick up a book that gives us a great idea or strategy that can move the needle forward and get us closer to our 10X vision and our 10X goals, then, it's very easy to make a decision, especially even for me now. Okay, hey, is this going to simplify our life? Is this going to move the needle forward? Those are the types of questions that we really are asking ourselves more than ever. I mean, more so than this year, for sure.
I don't think there's ever been a time where our visions haven't been aligned. So it makes it really easy. Another thing too is if someone is selling something, I'm buying it, right? I am just that thing. If they are a good salesperson, then I just fall at the wayside and sign on the dotted line and give them money. So Eric is the one who does the due diligence, right? So we've gotten burned a few times because I have done that with bad vendors. And then he looks them up and he's like, honey, if you just looked at their crappy website, you would have seen them. I'm sorry, I didn't think of that. It came from another person I trusted. So, he's helped me to make sure that we're being very cautious and the vendors that we're using moving forward, where, I just get, just enthralled with them. And then so now it's like, okay, well, if we're going to use someone, we'll do the due diligence. I always give people a shot. And, now we've been cutting out a lot of extra things that we used to use that were really just eating up our profits. And, this one is the analytical brain. He has been creating bots to essentially replace everything that we don't want to pay for anymore. Everything from accountants that we paid tens of thousands of dollars, and they've all been god awful. Accountants to assistants to marketing. So I'm, I'm now I know to not just blindly sign on the dotted line and trust people because I'm that people person. But I think that's the only thing. It's not even like that caused a fight, but you're just like, honey,
Stop doing that.
just stop buying whatever people are selling. Because he always would agree to it. So we've gotten better with that. But I think the most important thing with any kind of partnership, whether you're married or not, is having that vision that is aligned. And our vision has changed a lot. And it's constantly changing, but we're constantly changing and growing together. So I think that's the difference with me working with my dad versus working with my husband, where my dad, his vision was it was his practice, and he was set in his ways, and rightfully so. He has a very amazing law firm, and he's a phenomenal attorney, and I was blessed to work with him, learned a lot. He mentored me in many ways. But this is our empire that we're building, and, we're doing it for each other. So there really hasn't been a time where it's been like a tug of war with, are we going to do it this way or this way? It's always just been, all right, well, what's going to benefit our family the best way? And we've always been on the same page. I think it's just finding the right partner.
We fail all the time. Like that's one of the most important things in business is, honestly, if you can fail faster, you can learn so much quicker. So all the mistakes that we've made, we know we've wasted money, but at the same time, we've gained so much knowledge. So as we know, hey, maybe let's not do that again. And let's
not wasted money, just maybe overpaid for a lesson.
Yeah, so overpaid for a lesson, exactly. So I love that's a very expensive. We've had some very expensive lessons over the years, but it's okay. Again, we still we have our love for each other, and we still share that same vision. And even though it does change from time to time, we change together, and that's what's fun about all of this.
So how would you describe that vision now? It's kind of shifted, but you're aligned on it. What is that shared vision for Jackwin Legal and the Jackwins?
AI is such an intriguing anomaly that we're about to experience, truly in the legal field. We're already starting to see a lot of that technology start, being implemented, whether that's even through, the case law research software, just software in general. Our closing software utilizes AI. Office 365 has AI integrated into it. You Google something, it's AI, it's Gemini, it's being used. We do also pay for ChatGPT as well. So it's kind of it's opened up our eyes to a whole new world and really where we see things going. So, our brain and our vision isn't about next year. It's not even about next month either anymore. It's about what does our practices look like in 2030. Especially as a transactional attorney, oftentimes now, I mean, I've seen this because I know that people are doing this. People are going to ChatGPT, creating contracts as purchase and sale agreements and whatnot, but they believe that they're creating something. So that's cool because we've never seen that before, that you can kind of, hey, I want to build a business and, help me create a business plan, an operating agreement, things like that. So, the technology is very in its infancy stage. So, we're really going to see that advance. I mean, it's advancing just exponentially, even just over the past 6 months. I mean, we're at ChatGPT 5.1 at the time of this recording, So we see that trend is really is here. So, what does that look like for us? What does our lives look like in 2030, 2035? And what does our practices look like? So I think that's really been something that's helped guide us.
Yeah.
And, Gary Vee, we've been very blessed to see Gary Vee a couple of times and been able to, really close up and ask him personal types of questions like this. And the thing that resonated most with me was, he's like, if you think that you're overwhelmed with AI or that you can't do it or you don't have time, he's like, just do your 100 hours. Just start, because that, we had a conversation, our Connect Esquire meeting yesterday, and he went around the room and talking about AI, and then that an attorney, your dad, that's my dad, it is your dad, and he looked at me just like, what's going on? Like he had nothing, unfortunately, to contribute to the conversation because AI is not really in his vision right now. And but ultimately, we actually had a really great conversation with a banker yesterday on AI, because that's another transactional based type of business. So the reality is there. So it's you know what happens to our jobs, like what happens to me, and we have to be adopting AI in our practice, using it as tools, learning from it, because I think that's where a lot of people are failing right now, is that you just think, okay, I can just prompt it and it knows what I'm talking about. No, you're talking to a computer. So you actually have to be like structuring the prompting correctly in order for it to spit out what you're really trying to get to, or as an ultimate goal. So, a lot is focused in the AI, and where automation is going to be kind of taking over a lot of just even our mundane tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis. It's just amazing to see where technology is going. So we want to always be at the forefront of technology. So we're really adopting a lot of that and seeing where trends are going. I've created a couple of apps myself and designed some things. So it's cool because I have my legal brain on this side, but then I also have my creative brain on this side. And coding has just been kind of like vibe coding, because I'm not a coder by any means. But it's been
He's better than I am.
but it's been fun to just see, like, okay, if I do this to this and prompt it this way, this is the result that spits out. So like I was able to develop essentially an app. It's a web-based app, um, but it has the functionalities of a true application, and it's for our purposes of tracking and measuring everything. We love Dan Martell, so that's kind of like one of our people that we follow. So a lot of what we're looking towards and doing is also keeping him and his principles in mind as far as our 10x goal. So
Yeah.
a lot of technology forward. We definitely want to be in the forefront and kind of be a game changer to, bridge the gap between a lot of the senior attorneys who are leaving the space, and with the gap with the younger attorneys who are probably going to be the people that miss out, realistically, on having that experience or gaining that experience over time. So that's going to be a bigger problem, because the entry level type of associate level type of positions may kind of go away in a sense, because not as much. So, like now you have a whole field of attorneys, of younger maybe attorneys, that don't or won't have the ability to gain the experience of a senior level, decade practicing, or even 2 decades, 3 decades, whatever, 40 years of practice. So that's going to be a unique proposition that or problem that we'll have to try to figure out as a legal community. So
So yeah, I think that, instead of just pulling the sheets or the over our eyes and crying, AI is taking our jobs, and that he makes me watch these videos. So that's all that I learned, is that AI is taking jobs. That's what I gathered from it. Is that we're gonna figure out, how do we integrate it, and what do we do to allow this change, just like the internet. So really our vision is to not just end up where you're jobless or I'm jobless,
yeah,
but we are going the future will be already having the works. Investing in real estate is something that we've been doing since we first got married, owned the office we're selling our other office. And the focus will probably be more on the litigation side of the practice, what I do, and to build it out where there's enough technology and where before our vision was add people, grow, right, with people.
Because that's how you use the scale.
Yeah.
And
Especially,
we don't,
right? Just the people
yeah.
driven.
And so that's changed. And we've actually had, this year has been pretty tough employee wise. We at least I have. He's always had good employees. I have not been so lucky. So I'm really focusing on I'm going to bring someone in, have to know them, and quality people. So,
And share the vision of
who share our vision.
Mhm.
So there's a lot that I can do, just leveraging technology right now, and which is keeping our profit up, where I think a lot of other firms have been focusing on, I'm 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 employees, and maybe they're making 3 to 5 million a year. But when you have all of those salaries, how much are you actually netting, right? So our vision is focusing more on the profit, utilizing more technology, only bringing in quality people, and eventually getting the law firm within the next few years ready to sell so that he can do his app and I can just, enjoy the fruits of
And
his
network.
labor and go on vacation and sip rosé all day. Not all day, but, I got like Oprah has a glass of rosé a day, so that is my ultimate vision, is to get to a point where she only works 2 hours.
Yeah, from Bye Bye.
It was. She only works 2 hours a day, and she has a glass of rosé a day, and she focuses her time on spending her time with family and friends.
Mhm.
And we also read The 5 Regrets of the Dying, which really showed you that what people they're giving their wisdom while they're on their deathbed. They wish that they spent more time with friends. They wish that they spent more time with family. They wish they didn't work so hard. So we all know life is short, and our vision is really to focus more on the important people in our life. Each weekend, we've actually been seeing friends. We had some friends we hadn't seen in 2 years. Man, it's just crazy. So
Time goes by so fast.
every weekend, it's friends, family. And I'm getting to a point because we both have worked very hard for a very long time, and getting to a point where it's not us just constantly being in the grind, but where we can allow our he's very involved in our assets, to be able to just allow us to enjoy our lifestyle and not deal with the day-to-day grind. But that app will hopefully
Yeah, we hope so.
blossom and
Change the world in that sense, that, with the application.
I had nothing to do with it,
But
obviously.
you're going to help with the marketing because she can sell. So that's,
Yeah.
it's, certainly exciting times, more so than ever. So, yeah, I mean, that's just, we just see just where things are going, where a lot of people also rely on, just give my financial advisor the 401k and, everything will be okay after that. So we've also realized too that a lot of people don't have the financial education. The financial education average is about ninth grade level. So that's really sad. And even
I'm within that.
I understand because it's not taught in schools. It's never taught, it's barely even taught online. And sometimes, if you're relying on YouTube videos and podcasts, I mean, you have to vet the person who's actually giving it. You know, it, we've done very well because of real estate's slow. Real estate's not a sexy thing. It's, not the nice cars or like flashy objects or anything like that. It's a very slow process, but it's worth it. So people don't really have the financial education that we would love to see. So like that's one thing that are passionate about is sharing that type of financial education. Just even I saw your faces when I said, we signed up for a for-profit business. When we signed up our law firms and registered and everything, it's like we forget about that. And it's a very real thing though. And
Well, I think a lot. It's very real for attorneys and other professionals as well, right? Because you go to professional school, you go to grad school, and you're trained how to do this thing at a very high level. And people get out and go spend their time as a grinder in some big firm. And they're like, screw this, I'm going to go own my own law firm. And they get in there and still have this idea that I just have to be a really good lawyer and I'll continue to be a really good lawyer and I'm going to be successful. And that's not necessarily true. And it's definitely not true if they think about actually getting out, because then they're still grinding and now they don't have any security behind it, right? Because none of that stuff was taught in law school, right? You were just taught how to go work for a big firm.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent for self-directed, if you can self-direct it anyway. Self-directed IRA is very beneficial because you're in control of your own money and your own destiny. Whereas a lot of people, and it's really sad because we have friends that work for big law and they're relying on their 401ks, and I'm sure they're able to contribute a good portion of money to it. But if you're not understanding where your money is being invested or what products they're being invested in, how do you have any control or idea of where that will end up? So if you're relying on the stock market and you were retiring right now and the stock market just plummeted, and you had to sell, like that's a tough problem. And that's, an unfortunate problem that a lot of people end up having, if they're over leveraged. Going back to that financial education, it's like, okay, we learned, all right, we've built up, some with investing and being conservative. Okay, now we're in control of it now we get to do stuff with it. And so like, that's a really exciting, because it's like a turning point where it's like you get to enjoy and use what you've created and built. And instead of investing in handbags and cars and watches, it's like, okay, well, let's invest in assets and things that help us in the future down the road. So those are been really helpful.
We do have those things too.
I gotta say, there are some handbags and shoes
what
I've seen.
I both have
Right.
but these were bought before, and we have enough stuff that we're like, even for Christmas this year, I'm like, I don't even know what I want you to get me, and I love Christmas, but like, we have enough stuff. I don't need any more stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather donate to our. I've been with Child Fund. I've sponsor a child fund for probably a decade now, and it's like, it's like I'd rather give this child like some more money and to help her family and further education. That's more meaningful than anything else.
I was thinking I'd rather go on a trip, but you're so sweet.
So I wanted to just hit the mastermind that you guys have, because I mean, you're talking a lot about all the education that you guys do. And I know that you also help direct this for other attorneys as well. So tell us a little bit about this other organization that you started.
So this was all Eric's brainchild that he had. And originally it was more of a vision, like a LinkedIn for lawyers. He had a meeting with a woman, I think that I, of course, introduced you to, and she's like, you need 300,000 to start this. Mm-hmm. Surprise, surprise. We didn't have 300,000. And then you get into the daily grind of being lawyers. And I think it was in 2022 where I was paying a lot to be part of other organizations. And my brother said to me, why are you doing that? Why don't you do your own thing? And the light bulb went off. And I think it happened for both of us at the same time. And he's like, Connect Esquire. I'm like, yeah, it's time to do this. So through other organizations that I was in, I always found that especially the women, they were struggling with different things in business. And I typically network with women, no offense, Will. So I just connected with them easier, and I would always give them tips of this is what you should do with your law firm. And Eric had always read a bunch of books on self-development, being better. And so we combined the two passions of ours and created Connect Esquire, and found that there was a need for an organization to bring lawyers together for the purpose of masterminding. There's plenty of networking organizations out there that their sole focus is referrals. Something that happens naturally, because when you're vulnerable, you've had members cry during meetings. I've cried during meetings. when you're vulnerable and open and willing to help others and give your golden nuggets to other people. So let's say maybe they're going through an issue, you're one, and you're going to help them to not have to deal with 10 years worth of issues. You're going to save them 10 years worth of time. It's a beautiful thing that happens. And when we have great meetings, when our members show up, getting the Miami group to show up is always like pulling teeth. Everyone's late, but it's a lax group. It's not like bring a sub, or it's very laid back, and sometimes maybe a little too laid back because then people don't show. But the members that we have are people who are committed and they're investing in themselves and helping invest in others. So it's not an organization that's like, let me just take. It's all about giving. And the people who show up and contribute the most are the ones that receive the most. But it's been very rewarding, and we do quarterly conferences as well to reinforce the material that. And Will is actually going to be our speaker in April. I don't know if your wife told you, but
The potential.
I did. We're going to have another meeting somewhere with that. But yes, I did. I got the speaking gig. You're welcome.
So yeah, you'll get to see what that'll be our 12th conference in April. So we've been doing them for a while, and they kind of just run themselves.
It's a great opportunity to like work on the business as opposed to in the business. There's what you were saying. There's so many other networking groups out there, and it's like
we're not trying to compete.
The reality is like getting that extra referral isn't necessarily going to 10x your business. Like that's what people aren't truly understanding. It's like, oh, well, you guys are a networking group. No, we're way more than that. Like, yes, people do cry at these meetings, but it's, we're there to help. It's like crying because that we've changed or transformed them in some way, like where we hit something that made them realize maybe I shouldn't be doing something, or maybe this is a better way to do things. So, to be able to share trials and tribulations and the heartaches, the failures, and, helping somebody avoid mistakes, like personal injury attorneys, they make good money with settlements and things like that. That's great. Good for them. The problem that I've seen is that, and they'll go out and then blow the money by getting a nice fancy car. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we should have talked about then is like, hey, what are you going to do with that money? This is an opportunity. And it's not just even for personal injury like cases. It's just even like, what do you do with some of the money? Like, are you using profit first in your business? Because if you're not, you should. And it's just like those realizations of like, taking even a portion of $100,000 instead of dumping it into a car that depreciates immediately, buying maybe a 3 or 5 year old car or even a lease that's not as expensive, and then investing that money in either yourself or your business or outside, just like we were just talking about, self-directed, then, that you can double, triple, quadruple, 10 times, 50x that money just by virtue of investing in yourself, which is the best investment that you can do. But the second best is investing just in something else, so that it can help you in an asset that can help you in your future. Not blowing your money just because you want the nice Gucci belt and the nice loafers and the fast car.
I mean, even though we do love all those things.
Those are nice.
But it's prioritizing, like, right, profit first. That's where you can spend your profit on if that's what you want. But how do you reinvest your rest of your money? So if there was an attorney who was interested in like joining your group, like how would they get information about that? How could they contact her?
So they can go on connectesquire.com. We have our application directly on the website, and then send that over to me, Kristen at connectesquire.com, or admin at connectesquire.com. And then we'll go through the application process with them. And if we have a spot available, then we only allow 2 practice areas, 2 family lawyers, 2 people per practice area.
Okay.
And we don't want it to be too many. We still want there to be opportunities to refer, but it's not a category exclusive organization either.
Perfect. And then something we like to ask all our couples is what advice would you give another married couple who was thinking about going into business together?
Just do it. Don't do the business plan. Just do it. Oh, but what my real advice that I would give them is, focus on your strengths and don't fault your partner for not having your same strengths. So I focus on the sales, I focus on the networking, I am the creative big picture person, and I'm blessed that he doesn't make me do the numbers or the spreadsheets. So focus on your strengths and never force your partner to do something that they don't want to do. And if you both hate the same things, then pay to make that problem go away. Hire someone that can do that. At the end of the day, the most important thing is your partnership, your marital partnership. That's more important than the business. So you never want that to affect your beautiful relationship. I'm so blessed that I'm married to the absolute love of my life.
Thank you. And
Take 20.
Yeah, and mine is don't take things personal. We're in business for a reason. It's business. It's separate and apart from your relationship. It's separate and apart from your family. It is a part of it, especially if you are a family-run business. But being able to kind of differentiate and separate the business aspect of it versus the personal stuff. So, in business, if we make a mistake, we don't take it personally. Like even if you hire the wrong vendor all the time, I don't yell at her at all, like, because what's the point in getting, like, I'll point out, hey, this didn't work because there's no ROI, or ROI is negative. At least I can show her that the numbers don't lie. So, it's not taking anything personally. It's things that we live and learn through. And you just have to do that. And again, I know that I said this before, but failing fast is the best thing that you can possibly do because it'll help you grow so much quicker just by failing fast.
Yeah, I make the same mistake.
And you don't make the mistake.
Expensive opportunities. Learning opportunities.
Yes, those expensive learning opportunities.
I think that's great advice.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you for having us. This is awesome. It's been great.